Doug, I'm assuming you guys can hear. Yeah. There we go. Hey, YouTube. Sorry, I forgot to set you up again until a minute ago, YouTube. Sorry about that. Let me get TikTok. All good? Good. All right. Let me get TikTok done and then wie good. Wie geht's? Golden stars. That sounds kind of fun. I don't know what that is. Let's see what that is. All right. Go live. There we go. All right. All right. Woo. Very quiet. No, it's just Discord being weird. My microphone is where it always is. Check out the settings on Discord. It did that to a bunch of people recently. Just Discord being Discord, unfortunately. But if I turn the mic up, then it's going to blare. It's going to blast everybody else out. On the other apps is the problem. Hey, Nick. Hey, guys. Hey, Ash. Hi, everybody. Ha, ha, ha. La, la, la. Anything going on in terrifying land? Thank you, Ren, for the gifts. Thank you, Richard. Oh, man. Crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff going on. And I went to bed late. I couldn't fall asleep last night. Oh, that's funny. It's loud when I spoke into the mic. That's very funny. Well, the mic is that way. This is a very good mic so that, like, depending where I am, changes. It's not because it's not supposed to pick up stuff in the room around you. Just finished the gym. Excellent. So yeah. Hi, everybody. Lots of horrific news today. So it's been quite a weekend. Any of you who haven't been following Are We at War? Well, yes, we are. I always get asked that question. It seems the answer to that question may have changed in the last couple days. Thank you for the spaceman. Who is that? Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. Oh, my. Welcome, everybody. John Aravosis here in Washington, D.C., coming to you to talk about the latest news. As you guys know, we cover pretty much I'm America focused because that's where I am and that's who I am. That's my expertise. And also the war in Ukraine we'll talk about at the end. Thank you for the gifts there. Who is that? Was that Chili? I think so. And like I said, I couldn't fall asleep last night, so I got like 2 hours less sleep than normal, which sucks. So I am going to be yawning tonight. I apologize. Thank you, Sandria. Appreciate that. That was Sandria. Thank you. So lots of bad news, guys. Just to remind you, I do this for a living, so your gifts are very appreciated. So thank you. On TikTok, remember, we've got the fun gifts here, which are actually TikTok's new feature, which is like a wish list kind of thing, where I do different things based on the gift. So keep that in mind. And always keep in mind subscriptions too. Annie, for example, are well known. Annie does that is our goat wish list. We have 3 kinds of goats. We have a big goat. We have a little screaming goat and then a Halloween screaming goat. Annie tends to like the Halloween, but I like to check Halloween. Excellent. This one is pretty good. We do love the Halloween goat. All right, ready? One more time. We needed a fun start to the show because it's a bad day in news. Yeah, this one is hilarious. This is the best goat we've got. So yes, let me put it this way. Gavin Newsom, the Democratic governor of California, said we're on the verge of martial law in America. Donald Trump this weekend decided to send federal troops into Chicago and Portland. Lots of court cases going on. Oregon won. Chicago just lost. I'll sort of take you through it. So Trump decided, first of all, that he was going to send National Guard into Oregon. And he was going to take the Oregon National Guard and force them into Portland, Oregon. Well, Oregon goes to court and the judge says, no, you won't. And the judge even said something to the effect of, I think this was maybe Saturday night. The judge said, she made a comparison to martial law, and a Trump appointee, okay, a Republican judge, a Trump appointed her. And she said something to the effect of, there's a difference between, legitimate presidential authority and martial law. And she was suggesting this is heading towards martial law. She put a temporary restraining order on Trump. Remember, we've talked about these before. Temporary restraining orders are basically at the beginning of a lawsuit, the lawsuit is not done yet. At the beginning of a lawsuit, if the harm is so great and it looks like you're going to win the case, the judge will step in and say, restraining order. In other words, the harm of what Trump is doing is so great and it looks like Trump's going to lose the case. The judge can say, Trump, you don't get to put the National Guard in until this case is over. She did that. Well, he appealed it. Let's see what happens in the appeals court. My guess is it's going to go to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court is now basically MAGA activist court. They're going to say it's okay. Judge in Illinois and Chicago just not refused, but denied a temporary restraining order. So Trump is moving ahead with moving troops from Texas to Illinois. I should say what happened in Oregon was interesting. The judge in Oregon had said, no, Trump, you can't take the National Guard. This is basically verging on martial law. You cannot use the National. And part of the reason she said it was, she said, your reasons you're giving are garbage. You're arguing the city's on fire. The city's not on fire. I've got all the evidence from the city. There's no proof of any significant problem that you're giving. So what does Trump do? The judge ordered and said, you can, I'm sorry, a couple different things. One, he tried to take the Oregon National Guard. I should have said this. Then he tried to take the California National Guard. And the judge said, no, you cannot use the California National Guard in Oregon. Because again, it's akin to martial law. So what did Trump do? He went and he said, I'm going to move the Texas National Guard into Oregon because she said I couldn't move the California National Guard or it would be akin to martial law. So I'll move the Texas one. The judge was not happy. That's really cute. That was really cute what Trump did, basically violating a court order, as always. Trump, lots of things that are criminal with this man. Violated the court order. The judge said the next day, she said, fine, I'm stopping you from using any troops. You may not take any National Guard troops and bring them into Oregon, period. But the judge in Illinois said he can do it. So Illinois, he's moving ahead. He's frozen right now from screwing around with Portland. As I said, Portland, he's just lying. It's cute because sort of the Trump trolls who I don't think appreciate democracy say Portland's a S show. Portland's got its problems. Chicago does too. DC does too. We're not talking about whether Portland is the safest city on the planet, whether there are no protests. We're talking about martial law and whether the president of the United States is allowed to invade American cities with the U.S. military, especially military from other states, and move them in. That requires a threshold. A threshold. It requires literally the city in turmoil, riots, the local, and most importantly, the local authorities can't control it anymore. And they say to the federal government, oh my God, we've lost control of the city. Then the federal troops go in. Federal troops don't go in because there's lefty protesters in Portland and they're really mean. Yeah, and they're goofy. And they are, to my taste, they are kind of goofy. The Portland protesters they very often get a little too far left. It's a West Coast, or as we call it out here, a left coast thing. That's not why you send in you don't send in the military because you don't like how left-wing those Portland activists are. This is America. This is not Russia. This is not communist China. We don't send in the military because you don't like them. So Trump sends them into Chicago. Big surprise. Violence happens in Chicago. Why? Because Trump sent in the National Guard. There was no significant violence in Chicago. The significant violence in Chicago of the last couple of weeks has been ICE. It has been Donald Trump's forces that have committed the significant violence in Chicago. This weekend, we found out from the local, I think it was it might have been from ABC News, Trump's ICE descended on an apartment building with all I say ICE, but it's a coalition border, the different agencies. They descended on an apartment building in Chicago in a black helicopter. I mean, guys, this is how, how Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, everything she does is eyelashes, it's fake eyelashes and the fake hair and the makeup. And she's dealing with really serious topics on site and she puts on the fake eyelashes first, right? This is what they do. Trump and the rest of them are doing too. They arrived in a black helicopter. Guys, I'm from Chicago. We have roads in Chicago. We have highways and streets and roads, and there's even parking spaces. They didn't pull up to the building and screeching cars. They pulled up in helicopters. I mean, you are not Mission Impossible, okay? You're the National Guard. So they pull up in helicopters. They raid the building. They go through the building. And I read you guys I think on Friday, we probably talked about this. I read it to you guys on Friday, the story from the paper. And old women are coming out of black women are coming out of their apartment, because from the story they were black, are coming out of their apartment buildings into the hallway because they hear noise. And they say, what's going on? Old woman, imagine, okay, old woman, like your mom or your grandma, okay, in her nightgown. Again, she's old enough that she wears a nightgown, okay? In her nightgown, 10 o'clock in the evening, she steps in the hallway. The quote she gave the paper was, "That was the first time in my life I ever had a gun in my face." Okay? Put a gun in her face. Guys, she's an old grandma in her nightgown. They put a gun in her face. Asked her if she had any outstanding warrants, and she was like, no. What are you doing in my building? These guys knocked down all the doors. They arrested her, by the way. They took her for 5 hours. They arrested her for 5 hours. While she's standing there, other neighbors said the same thing happened to them. They're watching children come down the stairway with zip ties on their hands. Small children had their hands zip tied. Some of the children were nearly naked. This is what these guys did. And they blew out all the doors and then left after 5 hours. Mind you, they held the old ladies in custody until 3 a.m. Okay. And then let them go. And then, what happened next, right? Yeah. Unbelievable, yet so believable. Tear gas, Fox News. You got to love Fox News. Fox News has been showing nonstop video of the tear gas in Chicago. And oh my God, look at it. It's crazy. It's out of control. Yeah, the tear gas was Donald Trump's people who did it. Thank you. It does look out of control when you see tear gas everywhere. It doesn't mean it does mean things are out of control by the government, right? What happened was, this is amazing. The ICE guys are in traffic, and some guy either left a moped I'm talking a scooter in front of, you see in the street, the scooter's in the street, and either he left the scooter or he wouldn't move his scooter because he saw that they were ICE. I don't know how he'd know they were ICE by the car, right? And the ICE guys got so mad. Mind you, it's a scooter, guys. You could pick it up one person and move it. You see, and the videos, I saw the video. The ICE guys roll down the window and they throw multiple cans of tear gas into the street. I'm talking 5 or 6 cans of tear gas. The entire city block is now full of tear gas. They ended up tear gassing 27 Chicago police officers. I just saw the superintendent of the Chicago police on the news right now, the top cop. He was pissed because Trump's people are now denying it and saying, we didn't do it. No cops got tear gassed. He said, don't tell me my people didn't get tear gassed. He said 27 of them were tear gassed. Elementary school nearby, 2-year-old kid had to go to the hospital. And you've got to see the video. An entire city block engulfed in tear gas because these ICE guys got stuck in traffic. Okay? I mean, and Fox News, because watching it, was showing nonstop the video. It's the B-roll, we call it, like the video in the background. And you're looking at the video and you're going, oh my God, look at all that smoke. Look at all that tear gas. It's a disaster, right? You see that and you go, no wonder Trump sent them in. Thank you, Marsha, for the gifts. Keep the gifts coming, guys. You see the tear gas and you go, no wonder Trump sent them in, right? Until you go, no. The tear gas happened because Trump sent them in. The violence happened because Trump sent them in. I mean, guys, there's video from this weekend. I'm going to pull up one of them that looked like something straight out of Starship Troopers. I mean, the most insane, absolutely insane video. Oh, actually, I don't have I had the video of the cops. I had the video of the cops. This was a screen grab of the video, but look, you can see the cop in the background. mean, they gassed all of these cops. I had the video. I don't have it in front of me now. Hang on a sec. I'll go to iPhone changed everything again. Let's go to videos and see what I've got here. Oh, this is it. This is it. This is it. Hold on. All right, check it out. Oh, wait, hold on. Start at the beginning. So there is thank God. You need to see the very first frame because you see the moped there. Okay, it's a moped or a motorcycle or something. Okay, here we go. Look at the red. There's a red motorcycle or something. That's it. Blocking the white car. That's it. It's a motorcycle, guys. Not terribly hard to move. Okay? Watch what happens next. All right. Beeping their horns nonstop, of course. The white car is that. Look at this. Here he goes. Here goes the tear gas. Okay. Check out how quickly it escalates. They threw tear gas everywhere. I mean, everywhere. They filled the neighborhood with tear gas. Again, children, 2-year-old child had to go to the hospital. They gassed 27 Chicago cops by doing this. 27 Chicago cops. Why? Why not? The white car is ICE. Yeah, well, supposedly, who knows who these guys are, right? But yes, right? Julian, I can share it with you separately. Let me show you this video. This is a video taken by one of their own propagandists. They've got, and you'll see there's cameramen in the video. They've got cameras in all of this stuff. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Starship Troopers. If you're not, it actually is a very good movie. It's a bit of a spoof of a fascist state, like a militaristic fascist state, sci-fi fighting bugs. And it's a spoof though. It's some people think like Starship Troopers is pro-fascist. I don't think so. I don't think so. Check out this video of the ICE and the whole gang of them in Chicago before they march out in Chicago into the street. Okay. I mean, it is unbelievable what they're trying to do with this. Okay. And there's protesters outside saying, go home. Look at that. Also watch the way they march, because once they start marching, you're going to see these are weekend guys who are not trained to do anything. But watch when these guys start marching. They're not particularly expert at this. Like this is not what they know how to do. Because watch when they're marching, they're walking kind of awkwardly. And watch the two camera guys come by now. Look at it, camera number 2. Look at it, camera number 2 way in the air. They've got cameras. I mean, it's Starship Troopers. They're trying to. It's very scary stuff. Good news was a guy that was, well, arrested by God knows who. 2 guys. One guy who looked like a private citizen. The other guy could have been a federal guy, but honestly, a lot of people, when they saw this video I'm going to show you, were asking, is this even real? Like, are these guys trying to kidnap him, or are these federal agents? This is part of the problem. Watch these. They decided to arrest a guy, probably Mexican. I'm from Chicago. It's like a guarantee pretty much that he's Mexican. He looks honestly like he works in a restaurant. He's short. He's a little overweight. He doesn't fight. I mean, like this is like me, right? This is like a guy who clearly is not in some fighting job for a living, right? He's like a guy in a restaurant or something. And they're trying to tackle him and arrest him. 2 of these guys cannot figure out how to arrest the guy. because he keeps like going, no. And he's saying in Spanish, ayúdame, help me. And they can't figure out how to tie his hands up. I mean, again, two of these guys can't arrest one guy. The former police chief of Washington, D.C., was just on CNN. And he was saying how dangerous this situation is because these National Guard guys don't know what they're doing. These are people who are not trained for basically, I'm forgetting the term, I was saying enforcement, but like day-to-day crime enforcement stuff. That's not what they do, right? They're trained to perhaps backfill, maybe crowd control, maybe even go abroad. They're not trained to like do arrests and things. They don't, I mean, the thing is, they literally don't know how to do arrests. They're not trained in the use of force that cops are. Because he was saying, he goes, they're not trained in the use of force. They don't know how much force to use. They don't know when to use force and when not to, and when to use, they don't know. And they're throwing these guys, this video, policing overall. I guess, Elizabeth, that's one way of putting it, right? Policing overall, they don't know. This guy, I will tell you, there's a happy ending to the story. The guy got away. I want to show you two clips really quick. Let me see, is this the first or the second? That's the second. Okay, hold on. All right. She's saying, ayuda, help me. White shirt, ICE, probably. Other guy, ICE. Again, we're just assuming, but the bad guys are white and green. Look at it. They got him on the ground, and they can't get his hands tied up. And he's saying, help. Now, a big crowd started gathering. This is what gets interesting. A large crowd of locals, and this is Southside Chicago. A large crowd of locals started gathering, saying, let him go, let him go. See, now the other guy's trying to help, the guy without the hat on. They're going to try to arrest all these people, of course. Now they get him on the ground. They still can't get his hands done. And cars are starting to beep. But the thing is, you're getting more and more people now that are showing up, which is what's interesting. Now, the more and more people. Now, what happened next was they got so worried about the crowd, they finally left. Yeah. Look at this. They finally left. Oh, God. Like, I mean, damn. I was very proud to be a Chicagoan when I saw that video. It is kind of amazing to see people come to the aid of a stranger, because I suspect people driving by didn't know who this guy was. Probably a lot of guys on the street may not know who the guy was. Now, one woman in the comments on TikTok said, Trump's going to use that to justify more violence. Oh, he will. But he will anyway. This was remember I said like my story years ago consulting for a liberal group, and I proposed we do something. And I was told 20 years ago by the press secretary, if we do that, Rush Limbaugh will destroy us. And I said, Rush Limbaugh is going to destroy you anyway. Like, you really shouldn't be making policy or activist decisions based on whether Rush Limbaugh is going to destroy you on his radio show. He will. He literally will. And same thing here. Trump is intentionally sending these guys in because he wants, and this same analysis, I had this analysis first, but on CNN today, David Axelrod said the same thing. Others said the same thing. Trump is trying to cause violence. He's trying to provoke violence, because if he provokes violence, then he can literally declare martial law. He can, have the Insurrection Act and say they're trying to overthrow the government. And now you start to, right? You start to get rid of local politicians. You start to take over cities. He could say he's taking over Chicago, like literally, right? He could wipe out the Congress, maybe, right? There's lots of things you could do potentially if you tried to claim there was an actual insurrection, right? Yeah. But having said that, do you let the country descend into martial law? Because if you try to stop it, the country could descend into martial law, right? I mean, like, it's like, well, either it will, or you can try to stop it and then it may, right? But if you don't do anything, it will get bad. Just looking here to see what other videos. I mean, I've got more stuff we're going to talk about, but what other videos? Oh, God. These were the Chicago. Hold on. I found the Chicago cops that were gassed. These were the Chicago cops that were gassed by the Trump people. The Trump people lied about it and said it never happened. And the superintendent of the Chicago police, the top guy, came out today livid. I saw him on TV, livid, saying, yeah, 27 of my people got gassed. Don't you dare tell me they didn't get gassed. Look at this. Police officers gassed. Yeah. I think I had a second one. No, it's not that one. Oh, this was an amazing one, too. This woman is talking to the ICE people. Now, mind you, she's protesting, but she's standing in front of them. She's not doing anything. I mean, she's got a little shield, but she's holding it down. Again, actually, hold on. I may even adjust the lighting on this one a little bit just to make it even more clear what's going on, just to pull out the, there we go. I want you to, and again, it's going to escalate quickly. So you need to sort of watch fast. Alexa, raise the temperature 1 degree. Okay. This woman is, actually, I'll show you before I start it. So the woman is in the middle talking to the officer in the blue helmets, right? And the other officer, the ICE guy next to him. There's the one with the, she doesn't have a mask on, right? And she's talking to them. And of course, look at her position, look at her feet. She's totally not, she's not assaulting them. She's not doing anything. She's clearly talking to them. Look what happens next. They sprayed her right in the face, point blank. Watch again. This is the longer one. Look at, I mean, right? Right? I mean, again, you may not like the protesters. Like, she was as you know, nice a protester as you could get, right? This woman wasn't shoving them. She wasn't grabbing them, right? She was standing there, and she, even her little shield, she didn't have her shield in front of her face, and she didn't have her face covered, right? She does not look like a crazy person. And right, spraying right in her eyes. Thank you, Luis. Yeah. I mean, there's more. I'm going to go through more of the stories here and then show you more. Just, I mean, incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible stuff. Let's go through more. Oops. Oh, shut up. So, all right, a little more here. Stephen Miller. Oh, yeah. So this weekend, when the judge in Oregon ruled and said the Trump administration couldn't use National Guard from California to send it to Oregon, Stephen Miller, Trump's senior White House policy advisor, weighed in. I'm just going to read you his tweets. Basically, I'm going to tell you anyway. Stephen Miller weighed in. Again, Trump's top White House guy. He's the guy that a lot of people call German. He suggested that there is a national network of, there's a whole domestic terrorism network being run by Democrats. And it's being enabled by, okay, these are the terrorist enablers, okay? Again, he's saying literally a domestic terror network. He's not saying, you know, metaphorically. It's enabled by federal prosecutors, judges, and attorneys general. These are all elected officials around the country. They're not just elected officials. They're elected officials whose job it is to make sure you obey the law, you don't break the law. What a coincidence that Trump's guy, and by suggesting they're terrorists, it's suggesting that they can be arrested without due process. They can be arrested and not have to go to court even. They could send them to a military base. Judges, prosecutors, and attorneys general. Okay, I'm going to read you his Alexa, raise the temperature 1 degree. I'm going to read you these 2 quotes from him, okay? The issue before is very simple and clear. There is a large and growing movement of left-wing terrorism in this country. I'm going to stop again. For the last 30 years, overwhelmingly terrorism in America has been right-wing. It's been far-right terrorism. It has not been left-wing. This year, it looks like left-wing political violence, left-wing political violence might outweigh right-wing this year for the first time in history. In the last 30 years, it has been right-wing, and I'm talking 5-1, 10-1, right-wing to left-wing. And right-wing has always been more violent. There is a large and growing movement of left-wing terrorism in this country. It is well organized and funded, and it is shielded by far-left Democrat judges, prosecutors, and attorneys general. The only remedy is to use legitimate state power to dismantle terrorism and terror networks. He called the judges and prosecutors and states' attorney generals part of a terror network that he's going to use the federal government to dismantle. Thank you, Gene, for the gift. Keep them coming, guys. That he's going to dismantle. One way of dismantling it is martial law. Is you eliminate the civilian leadership, is what you would do. You would eliminate the civilian leadership, and you no longer have judges, and you no longer have prosecutors, you no longer have attorneys general, because they're all military courts now. Right? It's second quote from Stephen. Hold on. He responds to the judge. When the judge ruled that they could not take troops from California and bring them to Oregon, he called her an insurrectionist. Now, in the age of Charlie Kirk, of political assassinations, when you call a judge an insurrectionist, you are putting a target on their head, okay? Especially this weekend, he did it 24 hours after a judge, her house in South Carolina was burnt to the ground. She is a judge who ruled against Donald Trump a few weeks ago, only a couple weeks ago. She ruled against Donald Trump in a case dealing with elections and stuff. And the Trump people, of course, publicly excoriated her. We still don't know what happened. We do know her house, that was enormous, burnt to a crisp. Actually, I want to show you this first. Burnt to a crisp. Her husband had to jump out the window, broke his hip, broke his knees, his hands, broke his legs. Really scary. We don't know yet, but we do know that they knew at this point, Miller knew that a judge's house just burned down. And he went publicly and accused another judge of being an insurrectionist. Here we go. His tweet about her. Legal insurrection, meaning she is the legal version of insurrection, what she did with her decision. Again, we're talking about a federal judge, guys. And he said, this is legal. No, it's the law. It's the way the American system of government is established, that judges make decisions and they issue rulings and you don't always like it. And when you don't, you appeal them. It is not insurrection. Legal insurrection. The president is commander-in-chief of the armed forces, not an Oregon judge. Portland and Oregon law enforcement, at the direction of local leaders, have refused to aid ICE officers facing relentless terrorist assault, and threats to life. Terrorist assaults? Really? You saw the pictures. Terrorist assaults? Yeah. The girl in the pink boots. She was quite threatening. This is an organized terrorist attack on the federal government and its officers. And the deployment of troops is an absolute necessity to defend our personnel, our laws, our government, public order, and the republic itself. Yeah. Oh, that was funny. This was another, sorry. That was a funny TikTok video. Hang on. Looking to see what else I've got here. Oops. Let's go on. There's a lot more news. Let's go on. The polling is interesting. CNN was talking about the new polling, and people were asked, what's more concerning to you with the use of the National Guard? What concerns you more with Trump using the National Guard? One, Trump may use the National Guard to intimidate political rivals. 51% were worried about that. Big city crime will spiral out of control without the National Guard. Only 42% were worried about that. So more people were worried that Trump will misuse the National Guard to go after his political rivals than people who were worried that, oh, we must use the National Guard to stop crime. So his crime argument isn't sticking with people. Do you oppose Trump deploying the National Guard to U.S. cities? Or no, excuse me. Do you oppose Trump deploying troops overall, and I will give you examples, to U.S. cities? National Guard troops, 58% of Americans oppose sending them to U.S. cities. Active duty military, 61%. Actually, within 3 points, they're pretty close. That's around 60% of Americans oppose what Trump is doing. That's very interesting. Now, Republicans are still going to mostly support, but that doesn't matter. What matters is voters in the middle. If it were just Democrats opposing this, the number would be 50%, right? It wouldn't be 60. That's actually good. When voters were asked, were asked to complete the following sentence. Trump is focusing too much on putting troops in U.S. cities, 52%. I would say that's kind of 50-50, right? Thank you, Marcia, for the gift. That's kind of 50-50. Trump is focusing too little on lowering prices. In other words, Trump is focusing too little on fighting inflation, 75%. That's the interesting thing. Democrats, I know we're tempted to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. By the way, there's some big Epstein stories we're going to talk about tonight too. I kind of think two things. One, we talk about democracy because he is trying to instill martial law. He is attacking our Constitution. What they're doing are police state tactics. You have to oppose it. You have to talk about it. But we should be, and I should have done it too. We should be talking about inflation and saying, okay, he just sent another, 300 or 400 National Guard into Chicago. How did that fight inflation? How did that get my electrical bill? My God, the electrical bill of the last couple of years has gone through the roof. And it's never coming back. This is the month when we don't use much power at all, and my bill might be $150. It should be down to $80. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Marshall. It's never coming back down again, ever. What's he doing about that? What's he doing about beef prices? What's he doing about coffee prices? Well, we know what Trump's doing about coffee prices. He put a 50% tax on coffee. Thanks, Donald. Coffee from Brazil, a third of our coffee. But that's an interesting point is we should be talking about what he's doing, but never forget to put it in the breath of he's declaring martial law. Is that going to fix inflation? Is that going to get prices down? I don't think so. Right? They're sending troops into cities. Is that going to get prices down? Right? Yes, the judge's home. To really appreciate this judge's home on fire, you need to see the video. Again, we don't as of yet know if it's arson. Another judge said that they had heard it was being investigated as arson, but publicly there's no confirmation yet. Check this out. This is her house. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane, this fire. You can hear this thing burn. I mean, it's insane. Yeah. Okay, one more time. I mean, I'm going to zoom in so you can actually see the house. I mean, it is, because you can hear this thing burn. That is insane. Again, the husband had to jump out the window. So Trump, what else we got? Oh, they're going to send, because again, as I told you, this is about performative. This is about scaring. I told you guys, Ruth Ben-Ghiat's going to come on the show. Did I tell you this? I did tell you this. Who's a very famous authoritarianism expert. She's going to come on possibly later this week. I told her, let's plan it 3 days ahead so I can tell people so we can kind of build it up a little. She's great, very smart. But I think it's important because she can tell us how bad are things, but also what do you do? You're an expert on authoritarianism. How is it successfully fought? Right. But at the same time, is this as bad as it feels? So she's going to be great. The Trump, but I was saying part of this is about fear. Part of it is about scaring people. Okay. And Kirsty Noem said, the head of Homeland Security with the eyelashes, Kirsty Noem, Bambi, said that they're going to be sending ICE agents to the Super Bowl to try to arrest people who come to see Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny, hugely famous Latino singer. I wasn't familiar with him, and I love all the Republicans. Yet another Republican on CNN goes, well, I'd never heard of him. And you're like, dude, that is an indication. That is a reflection on you and not Bad Bunny. I hadn't heard of him either. That's a reflection on my knowledge of popular music. That is not a reflection on, well, he's obviously nobody if I've never heard of him. Right? I mean, like, hello, he's huge. I mean, like apparently gigantically huge, gigantically huge. He's huge in Latino music, like around the world. Right. He's an American Puerto Rican singer. And he gets picked to sing at the Super Bowl. Well, the Trump people and all the Trump fans are very upset because, first of all, this was great. He speaks Spanish, That was the first thing. Second of all of his songs are in Spanish, or most of them. Oh, thank you, La Chapara. I don't remember if, is that a wig? Is that the Trump wig? Help me out, guys. I think it is. That's the Trump wig, isn't it? I think it is the wig. Okay, one sec. Let me find my wig. Our gift, the diving whale gets the Trump wig. You still got to help me find a brush for this thing, guys. Yep. There we go. We get a minute of the Trump wig. Oh, that was another gift. Thank you for the hearts there. There we go. That's not too bad. I still feel like, I feel like I look like Irma Bombeck. That's who I'm thinking. It's a little bit of Trump and a little bit of Irma Bombeck with the top. The top needs to go down and then it's more Trump maybe. So Bad Bunny, literally, one, he speaks Spanish. Two, he's not couldn't get an American. And literally, Tomi Lahren, who is this famous blonde MAGA lady who's not very bright, but them, she's blonde, and she goes, they couldn't get an American. And her guest goes, Puerto Rico is part of America. You do know, like, they're Americans, right? Thank you forever. And she changed the topic immediately. But they were complaining he's not American. Then they complained a lot of his songs are in Spanish. It's like, yeah. Thank you, Caleb. Yeah. And what they're pissed about, what they're really pissed about. Thank you, Big Hawk. I thought that was you with the octopus. Although it's kind of funny with the octopus on the Trump hair. What they're really, the problem is it gets itchy after a while. What they really got upset about was Bad Bunny said that he was not going to have any more concerts for the time being on the American mainland because of Trump's ICE. He didn't want them coming to his concerts, which they would, and arrest people. So they're pissed. So they're going to send ICE agents to the Super Bowl to arrest people as revenge against Bad Bunny. But it gets funnier. I didn't realize I know Super Bowl is expensive. I didn't know how expensive the Super Bowl, anybody who doesn't know from around the world, right? It's our big annual football championship, right? American football. The tickets are $6,500 a ticket. $6,500 a ticket. Okay. That's pretty much the same in euros. How many Mexican day laborers who have overstayed their visa are going to be spending $6,500 to attend the Super Bowl? How does that work? $4,000 for nosebleed seats. Okay, so for the really bad, you can get cheaper. Fair enough. You can get $4,000 for the really bad seats. Okay. Now, Trump is implementing fascist policies. He is, but this is also performative. They are trying to freak people out. Why are we wasting ICE agents going to the Super Bowl when literally nobody there is going to be illegal? Nobody is going to be illegal there. They're going to be a bunch of rich people. I mean, why? 10,000 a head. Oh, it goes up to 10,000 a head. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So they're going to do that. She announced this weekend. Oh God, the Trump University thing. I don't even think we mentioned this. Trump is demanding that American universities sign a MAGA loyalty oath, or he's going to cut billions of dollars in funding. It's the latest, again, fascist, authoritarian move against American universities. I was reading the article today, and among the requirements of this fascist MAGA oath that the universities have to swear was a line that said that the universities have to prohibit belittling of conservative ideas. That's the quote. The universities have to prohibit, they have to ban the belittling of conservative ideas. What the hell does that mean? Right? So, for example, if a professor of economics is teaching an economics class and says, and a student says, well, Donald Trump says that tariffs are paid by foreign countries, that we're not going to pay anything. And the professor goes, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. He has now belittled a conservative idea and has broken the law. And the university could lose billions of dollars. I mean, this is, I don't know if we need another word than fascism. I don't know what word we use. Because the thing is, and somebody earlier had told me, they said, well, you could say authoritarianism. We don't use these terms in America. This is the thing, and I don't know, Americans will know what I mean. I don't know if the rest of you guys, Europeans and others, know this, but in American English, we use the word fascist up until now. It's a word that's used by the extreme left, okay? And I'm sorry, normal people tend not to use the word before now, before Donald Trump is my point. Like, George Bush is a fascist. It's like, George Bush was many things. He wasn't a fascist. He got us into an illegal war, lots of things, but he wasn't a fascist, right? And it's a word that the far left uses as just a smear, but it's a far left word. You're a fascist. It's goofy. Well, that's the problem, is we don't have the language to deal with this crisis. The word fascist was literally a joke word used by I don't mean to be rude to people if any of you used it, but it was goofy to use the word before. So now when you hear the word fascist, you think, oh, that's a hippie word, or like hippies or something, right? Like that's a hippie word for Republicans, calling them fascists. Even authoritarian, to be honest, is too nice of a word. And I don't think people know what authoritarian even means, right? But authoritarian, it sounds kind of nice almost. Like he's an authority, right? What do you call it? Right. You can't use the N word, the other N word, the NZ word from Germany. You could even, again, in America, calling people NZs typically was kind of goofy. Like some Republicans claimed that President Obama's Obamacare, his Affordable Care Act, was just like NZ Germany. And it was like, yeah, I mean, literally one of the Republicans, I can pull up the quote. One of the Republicans claimed this. It's just like what they did. And it's like, the NZs and Germany's gave like their political enemies health insurance. They gave the Jews health insurance. I don't think that's what they did. I'm pretty sure they didn't. But so like usually it's used by crazy people. We're not used to having a legitimate invocation of World War II, 1930s Germany in American politics. It's usually crazy people that say that's just like they did in Germany. It's metaphor. It's not literal. Now we're dealing with literal, and we just don't know how to do it. Dictator and dictatorship, maybe those are the best words. Maybe they are. But I mean, and part of it, I've said, this is my personal take on it. Part of it, I think, is we don't, I was telling somebody a while ago, we don't have the genetic history. I say genetic, it's not genetic, but it's, we don't have I'm still going to say genetic, meaning American. We don't have like the genetic history to know how to deal with totalitarian, fascist, dictator, authoritarian governments, whatever. When they're abroad, we, send in the military, boom, right? I mean, that's how we deal with them. We've never had to deal with them at home. And we're not sure how to recognize it. We're not sure how to even believe it's real, because I think that's part of it, is you're telling people and they're going, come on, right? Come on. I mean, even a couple months ago, when people were saying that Trump would call off the elections, I was like, come on, right? Now, Gavin Newsom, the Democratic governor of California, said in the last week, he's afraid Trump will try to call off the elections. I mean, like that fear has gone mainstream, but we don't have the experience in our culture. We didn't have fascist governments. Not really. I mean, not in not in the last 100+ years. I mean, some people were trying to say like, well, during Reconstruction, it was kind of right. I mean, okay, you want to go back 150 years and try to, fair enough. But for the rest of us, we know the country in the last 100 years that we haven't had fascist governments. So we don't even know what to do with this. That's part of the problem. And I think it's hard for us to accept it's real. It's hard for people to say, oh, come on. He's not really going to do that. McCarthyism, that's a good point, Eddie. Now, McCarthyism, yeah, good question. You can get into the definition of whether it was fascism, but it's akin to what's going on now. McCarthyism was using the tools of government to destroy your political enemies and also making up boogeymen and fake conspiracies and smearing people who were innocent and all of that. It's definitely part that. We've got McCarthy. I guess the thing is, would you call this McCarthyism? Maybe calling it McCarthyism would work. I didn't think of McCarthyism because at least McCarthyism is something that we know is bad, right? And we know we're capable of it. And we know it's bad. I mean, that's an interesting argument. Now, McCarthyism didn't have the violence that this had, from what I know. I shouldn't say maybe it did, but from what I know, it didn't have the violence like this, right? But I don't know. Well, yeah, but younger generation, I mean, what are you going to do with younger generation? I mean, I don't even know what, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, what are you going to even compare it to? For them, you're kind of saying people who don't know their history, how do you give a historical parallel to people who don't know history? And relatively, as a generation, young people are going to know history less in principle because they haven't lived it. Right? What are you doing, dog? What are you whining about? What are you doing? The dog is somewhere whining at me for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, Alexa, lower the temperature 1 degree. I mean, yes, you're supposed to teach them exactly. And honestly, that's why I think, you know what the thing is too, and we've talked about this before. For Democrats, it's been difficult because the last election with Trump, people reminded the voters of that he was a fascist, basically, and he was a criminal and a crook. They didn't care. They didn't care. They cared about inflation, right? They just didn't care. Right? Kamala Harris, whatever the hell was about Kamala Harris, right? Her laugh, right? And I think maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. A lot of Democratic elected officials are worried that the public doesn't care about democracy. They care about inflation. And if we talk about democracy, we're going to lose. And if we lose, by the way, that's important. Oh, sorry. There is the comment. Sorry, that question. I did see it, and then I forgot to get to you over there, Sky Queen. And if we lose the next election, then Donald Trump really destroys the country. So the election matters. But it's an interesting argument from the Democratic side of, if we get into all this, this democracy stuff, we don't win. Hillary tried to lecture us on the democracy stuff too. Having said that, if someone's trying to destroy your democracy and put you into martial law and possibly suspend elections, then maybe you still, even if they don't want to hear it, maybe you need to explain that to people. I don't think you have a real choice there, right? You lose your democracy. You say, well, people were bored. They really didn't want to listen to it, so we gave up. Sky Queen, MAGA will become its own word associated with all of this in the future. True. It feels like it's its own thing. Stupid fascism with a side of crazy town. Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting point, right? Using just the word MAGA itself to kind of mean, honestly, it's an interesting point too. We should have taken the word MAGA and tried to make it into a slur. I mean, I think we do make it a slur, but to really make it a slur, right? To just really make it a slur. What else we got here? Oh, Epstein. So Supreme Court rejected Ghislaine Maxwell's. Okay, interesting story here. So Jeffrey Epstein, right, bad guy, his accomplice, bad girl, gets 20 years in prison. They were trafficking children, very bad stuff. We don't want to get into the details, very bad stuff. And she gets 20 years in prison. She appeals to the Supreme Court and says, my conviction should be thrown out because prosecutors promised Jeffrey Epstein, my cohort, that we would that the deal they reached with him was they wouldn't go after any of his co-conspirators. I'm his co-conspirator. They went after me and put me in prison. Now, it's funny. I was saying this earlier, looking at the dog to make sure she's not eating too much outside. I was saying earlier that, she's got a point. I mean, I have no sympathy for this woman, and I'm fine if they keep her there. But the federal prosecutors did reach a deal with him. Sasha, come on. Hey. She goes out and then she eats my plants. I let her go because what do you do? But then she eats the plants and then she doesn't come back. Sasha. Oh, God. Oh, well. This is what happens when your dog starts losing her hearing. They get to eat whatever they want. Sorry, what was I going to say with this? Mexicans ain't going anywhere, MAGA. She's driving me crazy. Where is she? Only because she eats stuff and then she's she's 16 or 15 and a half. Hey, Sasha, get in here. You are so bad. Get in here. Totally, I totally called it. Yeah. No, she was halfway down the balcony eating some dirt, some crap off the ground. And as soon as I've got to go loud or she can't hear me, I went loud and then she always jumps out of her skin because I caught her. Oh my God. So Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein reaches a plea deal. Part of his plea deal is we will not prosecute you for anything else. We will not prosecute any of your co-conspirators because basically he wanted her to get off the hook. The prosecutors then prosecute her anyway. And she goes to prison for 20 years. She says, well, you reached a deal with federal prosecutors that said you would not go that the United States would not go after any of his co-conspirators. Well, what the court said, and the Supreme Court finally kind of accepted it, was, well, it was the Florida prosecutors who said they wouldn't go after his co-conspirators. The New York prosecutors are allowed to. Yeah, I didn't pronounce the S. The New York prosecutors are allowed to. I think that's kind of bullshit, to be honest. I mean, I'm sorry. You reach a plea deal with the federal government and the federal government says we're not going after your co-conspirators. And then another federal guy in another town goes, well, I'm the federal government. I'll go after her. It's a little weird. So that's a little weird. But in any case, she appealed to the Supreme Court and said this isn't fair, and the Supreme Court wouldn't take the case. So that's good. Trump today gets asked about it. I'm going to play the Trump tape. Trump today gets asked about it by what's her face on CNN, who's very good. She's the young woman, 30 years old, really good. What's her name? Caitlin Collins. Thank you. Caitlin's very good. Caitlin asks Trump and says, well, the Supreme Court today turned down Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal. Her people are saying the only thing she can do now is get a pardon from you. Are you considering a pardon? I want you to hear this. Actually, I'm going to edit the video to make it a little louder. 1 second here, because it's not really loud enough. And again, it's not the perfect video, but here we go. 1 sec here. Boom. Create. I'm using my little Photoshop app to change the volume on here. Audio volume. There we go. Okay. Let me export this. Okay, there we go. It's about a minute. We may play a good amount of it. But I'm going to give you a little background. So she's talking to Trump and says, the Supreme Court wouldn't hear her case. All she's got left is you. Her people say, would you actually consider giving her a pardon? And I will say this, and I'm going to sort of say it before I play it. A couple things going on here. Trump keeps saying, well, I would consider that. I'll have to talk to my people about that. And you're going, what? Second of all, what I hear in Trump's voice, a couple things. One, I don't think he knows who the hell she is. Not Caitlin Collins, Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't think he knows who the hell she is. I don't think he does. He's a liar. So you could imagine him pretending he doesn't know her. He has no idea who Caitlin's talking about. And Trump thinks Caitlin's talking about an injustice. Trump thinks Caitlyn says, well, this person you can't recall went to the Supreme Court today and they turned her down. Are you going to help her? And Trump says, well, I'll have to talk to the Department of Justice about that, right? Because keep that in mind when you listen to this. When I hear this, I hear Trump going, not only do I not know who it is, but clearly it's somebody they think I should help. So I'm going to say, well, I'm not going to make any promises, but I'll look into that, right? That's what I'm hearing with this. That's very strange. Okay, listen to this. So he didn't know. And then later on, she goes, she's a convicted offender. And he still doesn't say, oh, in that case, no. He goes, well, I'll have to talk. Listen to this. This is insane. Oops.
Today, the old Say it. The Supreme Court is back, and they rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance of getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're...
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I would have to take a look. Did they reject that?
She wanted to appeal her conviction.
And what happened?
They said that they were not going to hear her appeal.
I say, well, I'll take a look at it. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So, but I will speak to the DOJ.
Why did she get handed a clemency, sir?
I don't know. I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I'd have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for it, frankly.
He has no idea who she is. He's not playing dumb. He's not just playing dumb because he screws up in the first part. This is a dangerous question in the first part. And he responds as though she's saying, this person you should be helping got screwed by the Supreme Court. Are you going to help her? And he's saying, well, I'll have to look into that. He knows exactly who she is. But again, if you're happy, guys, at one point, all right, my dog needs water. At one point, my own father didn't know my name. Dementia gets to a point where you start forgetting the most obvious people. I mean, it happens, do not assume that Donald Trump knows her name and knows who she is. He is a pathological liar. But as I said, at one point my dad stopped knowing who I was. And I could tell because he would fake it. He was good. He would fake it. And he knew he should have known me. So he would be like, hey, I was like, all right. But yeah, it's very, very weird stuff. So it's entirely possible he forgot her name or forgot who she was. Oh my God. There's a lot of news today. I'm not going to go through all of this. Key federal prosecutor in Virginia reportedly is refusing to indict, oh, that's on the list, Julian. Key federal prosecutor is refusing to indict Letitia James. Remember how Trump ordered the Justice Department illegally to indict his political enemies, and they already indicted James Comey, who's probably going to get off because the indictment will probably be dropped. He wants to indict a sitting U.S. senator. He wants to indict the Attorney General of New York, who went after Trump, and Trump wants to put her in jail. They looked at the evidence in Virginia and couldn't find sufficient evidence to charge her. And the story today was, and this is a top Justice Department prosecutor, looked at it and said, there isn't enough evidence. I'm not going to do it. She's going to get fired, I guarantee you, and they're going to find some other stooge to do it. But that I thought was a very interesting story. Trump took credit for catching Osama bin Laden or something. So Trump, I may play this tape too. Trump this weekend was speaking at the U.S. Naval Academy graduation, maybe not graduation, just the U.S. Naval Academy, homecoming, whatever it was. And he starts rambling about Osama bin Laden and how he, a year before 9/11, Trump was talking to Pete Hegseth, who was 20 years old at the time, And first he goes, I told Pete Hegseth a year before 9/11. And you're going, a year before 9/11, Pete Hegseth was 20. You told him something? Really? I don't think so. You didn't know him back then. And then he switches from I told Pete Hegseth a year before 9/11 to I wrote a book a year before 9/11 whose name alludes, he doesn't know the name of the book he wrote. And he claims in the book that he warned the world about Osama bin Laden. And I warned the world about him. And nobody listened. I said, you better catch him. And nobody listened. So I went and pulled up the text. And I'm going to play you what he puts there. The text was actually the opposite. Donald Trump is giving examples of people claiming things. Well, they claimed about Iraq that there was no or whatever, blah, blah, and then a year later, we're invading them. So he's doing opposites, right? And then they claimed about Osama bin Laden that he was the worst terrorist in the world. And next year they're going to find somebody else. That's what Trump said. So he claims, I warned the world to catch him. He's dangerous and nobody listened to me. And again, no one picked up on this. Let me pull up the quote. Literally the quote from Trump is the opposite. The quote from Trump is Trump saying, yeah, they're telling you Osama bin Laden is bad, but you know what? They say that about everybody, and then next year there's another big bad that they're worried about. That's what the Trump quote is. But the way he told the story is just, this man is not in good shape. See if I can, now I got to see if oh, here we go. Hold on. Oops.
Osama bin Laden, exactly 1 year. Remember that. And please remember, I wrote about Osama bin Laden exactly 1 year ago, 1 year before he blew up the World Trade Center. And I said, you got to watch Osama bin Laden. And the fake news would never let me get away with that statement unless it was true. But I said 1 year before to Pete Hegseth, I said 1 year before, where's Pete? In the book, I wrote, whatever the hell the title, I can't tell you. But I can tell you there's a page in there devoted to the fact that I saw somebody named Osama bin Laden, and I didn't like it, and you got to take care of him. They didn't do it. A year later, he blew up the World Trade Center. So I've got to take a little credit because nobody else is going to give it to me. You know the old story? They don't give you credit, just take it yourself. And it was
You know what? I'm pulling up the quote. This so annoys me. I'm pulling up the quote. Trump Osama book. Here we go. CNN's been fact checking this for years, apparently. Yes, his tale about the book's non-existent warning was conclusively debunked in 2015. Alexa raised the temperature 1 degree. CNN published another debunking when he revived the tale in 2019. Thank you for the gifts, guys. But the president repeated it once again. This time delivered the phony narrative after saying history wouldn't forget how it was Navy SEALs who killed bin Laden in 2001 under President Obama. Let me pull the quote. Hold on. The book titled The America We Deserve, this is CNN, did not tell anyone they needed to watch or take care of bin Laden. That would have been particularly prescient. Here's the book's single mention of bin Laden in a section criticizing U.S. foreign policy. Instead of one looming crisis hanging over us, we face a bewildering series of smaller crises, flashpoints, standoffs, and hotspots. We're not playing the chess game to end all chess games anymore. We're playing tournament chess, one master against many rivals. One day, we're all assured that Iraq is under control. The UN inspectors have done their work. Everything's fine, not to worry. The next day, bombing begins. One day, we're told that a shadowy figure with no fixed address named Osama bin Laden is public enemy number one, and U.S. jet fighters lay waste to his camp in Afghanistan. He escapes back under some rock, and a few news cycles later, it's on to a new enemy and a new crisis. That's all he said. That's all he said. He didn't warn us. Thank you, D. He didn't warn us that, oh my God, that was Donald. Well, I mean, Trump didn't write it, obviously. It's a ghostwriter, but that was from Trump's book. That's Trump's quote that he claims, a year before 9/11, I warned everybody that we had to pay attention to Osama bin Laden and get him. I mean, he's a pathological liar. I mean, he's a pathological liar. The Trump this weekend tweeted that Democrats are the party of Satan. Again, Charlie Kirk. Okay, post Charlie Kirk, Republicans had the gall to accuse Democrats of speech that causes terrorism in America when 80% of the political violence in America is caused by the extreme right. Trump, and he didn't just, I got to find the picture. He didn't just call Democrats the party of Satan. Who do you think he picked as the main person? He put out a bunch of politicians. Who do you think he picked as the main person? Sasha, you're not going out there again. No. The dog always wants to go out. And I'm like, you were just out there. We have to learn to to rein it in a little. Wait, I am going to find this. Here we go. All right, hold on. Otherwise, I'll Google it, but I know I've got it. Here we go. The party of hate, evil, and Satan. Okay. If you were a racist pig, what kind of individual would you use as the centerpiece of something where you're talking about Democrats being Satanists, the party of Satan, right? Religiously evil people. You'd use a Jew, is what you do. It's Chuck Schumer. He's got all the other Democratic characters around there. He picked a Jew as the top guy. The party of Satan, because that's part of the blood libel about Jews is this Satan worshiping crap with children's babies' blood and all sorts of crap. It's a blood libel about Jews, actually. Not to mention the party of Satan. This is why they go after George Soros as well. Soros has money, but Soros is rich and Jewish. Thank you for the gift there, JPT. I mean, yeah. Oh, he's gone after Jews before. He gets away with it all too. I wasn't even looking. What was the typo? What's the typo? What typo? I missed that. The party of hate, evil, and Satan. Yeah, Democratic Party is dead. No, I didn't see a typo there, unless I missed it. I think we talked about this on Friday. No, it just says evil, comma, and. Evil and Satan. I don't mind the comma. Yeah, that's okay. No, there's only one and there. Trump, the Treasury Department's looking at putting Trump's face on a $1 coin. That's nice. Illegal too. Ukraine. So Trump got asked today and said that he was open to providing Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. Some people took it as, oh my God, he approved it. No. Trump said, well, I may have the video. I don't know. Actually, I got to look and see. Well, I could see doing that. I could, I think so. Yeah, I've already kind of made a decision, and I think, yeah. But of course, it depends kind of where they're sending them. So he didn't approve it. He thinks, yeah, I'd like to give it to them, but I'm a little worried about how they're going to use them. Are they going to attack Moscow? And I don't want to give it to them if we can't. So he has not made a decision. He's leaning towards providing them, but clearly he's not made a decision yet. And he'll change his mind exactly if Vladimir Putin, Let me see if I've got, hold on.
The Supreme Court is back, and they rejected today.
Nope, that's that one. That's Caitlin Collins. Yeah, I didn't grab that one today. I don't have it. Sorry, didn't have it. Ukrainian drones, and finally, Ukraine has been going crazy after Russian oil infrastructure, which has been very interesting. They reportedly targeted oil infrastructure in Siberia over 2,000 kilometers or 1,500 miles or 1,300 miles away from Ukraine. Ukraine hit the largest oil terminal in Russian-occupied Crimea. They have been going nonstop after Russian energy. Now, the Russians are going after theirs for the winter, but they've been really crazy trying to, in a good way, hitting the Russians as well, going after their energy. So it's been good. Anyway, no other really updates on that front. All right, the news was long today. I'll stay a couple minutes more, but normally this is where I would sort of stop the show because, like I said, the news is was long today, but I kind of knew it would be. So anyway. Oops. Jeez. Do I think I'll relocate? Yeah, sure. I'm still trying to get my Greek passport, so that's the first relocation. Callum's trying to get me to move to North Carolina. So, we'll see about that. I don't think I want to move to North Carolina. I'm a big city boy. I mean, I don't like DC is a little small town for me. I'm too much of a big city boy. New York was great. New York was just too expensive. Oh shit. We did have another. God damn it. Oh shoot. I had a couple things from you guys. I'm sorry, Sky Queen and Iboli. I missed yours entirely. Sorry, Sky Queen. Usually you guys beat me up when I miss this stuff. Sky Queen, MAGA will become its own word. Oh no, we said that. Sky Queen, we did. Iboli, I missed you. I'm sorry. Panem e circenses, bread and circus. If people are comfortable, the average citizen won't really care what the government does. Yeah, bread and circus. I'm trying to remember Rome, obviously, which emperor I don't recall. But as I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, the idea of bread and circus is keep the people well fed and keep them happy. Like give them, was it Caligula? Give them circus, meaning give them, right, the gladiator displays, all that kind of stuff. And at the same time, keep them fed, and you can do whatever you want to them. Russia, same thing. The Russians are kind of notorious for Russian people always sort of having a compact with their government that as long as you let me have a roof over my head and a job, I don't really care what you do with the rest of it. Freedom of speech and all that stuff, whatever, right? Just give me my job, give me my family, give me my house, and I'm fine. But so it's kind of a similar concept with the Russian stuff with that. But what content you were saying, people don't really care what the government does. Yeah, I mean, except here, here what is interesting is, as I said, Trump is trying to provoke violence, and he is. It was the Roman poet Juvenal. Really interesting. Okay, there you go. Trump is trying to provoke violence so he can possibly institute martial law. Having said that, I have always felt with Trump, even the first term, that people wouldn't really get fed up with him and stand up to him unless he went too far. He did with the insurrection, and then they decided to make up with him again. I almost feel like people aren't going to finally say, we're not going to hit a breaking point until his National Guard goes too far, until they do very bad things to civilians, the worst things they could do to civilians, right? I think that may be the only thing that makes the country wake up and even makes Republicans go, wait a minute. Now, it's going to cause probably massive numbers of people. That will provoke incredible violence around the country. Now, he's going to use it to try to provoke martial law. But again, I don't know how else I see this resolve than it does become increasingly violent. I just don't, because otherwise he's doing it I'm not proposing it. I'm actually forecasting here. I don't see any other way of it resolving because he's going to do it anyway. He's doing the violence anyway. Thank you, Bowie. Just like they did in Chicago, standing up to the ICE guys. You're going to get more and more private citizens standing up to these ICE guys. And these ICE guys, these National Guard guys, have no idea what they're doing. They're clearly, even the National Guard, think about this too, guys. I have friends who were in the National Guard. To be in the National Guard, by the way, is there anybody that's actually full-time in the National Guard of these troops you see? A lot of these guys, my friends, you're in the National Guard 2 days a month. A one weekend every month they go and they do the National Guard stuff. But it's 1 weekend a month. They're not soldiers. These guys, and like the former police chief of DC said, these guys don't know what they're doing. These guys don't know what they're doing. Anyway, I'm going a little late tonight because the news itself went late. Trump is going to try to not leave when his term is over. David Frum just tweeted today and said these guys aren't planning on leaving. Hey, quiet. David Frum said these guys aren't planning on leaving when their term is done. I mean, again, people need to be prepared for this. And the worst part is it's dangerous to even talk about. But, Greta, I'm not a big fan of Greta. Sorry, but I just can't. I just can't. And I don't know what actually happened, although the Israelis were probably pretty shitty. David Frum is a very interesting character. He's a friend of mine. He is a former Bush, the bad Bush administration, White House official. But he had a really good come to Jesus, like in 2010. And I believe it was about Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, and took on Republicans over it, and they disowned him. He lost his job, got fired, all this kind of stuff. And David is David is a, Reagan Republican, basically, like super conservative, very smart, intellectual guy. And he has been he's kind of made his niche calling out the Republicans for going too far. But David himself said tonight that, which worries me because David is very smart. David is not hyperbolic. I try not to be hyperbolic, but I'm certainly more emotional than David is. David said they're not planning on leaving power ever. For him to say that is and he was responding to something Stephen Miller was doing. That's very scary to hear that from David. No, people, the problem is, we can't even talk about it on this show, what you can do to prepare. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you got to just figure out on your own, what would you do to prepare for this situation if all hell breaks loose? It's bad. Yeah, he did it January 6th. That was a microcosm. That wasn't martial law across the entire, that wasn't dissolving Congress. I'm just saying he tried on January 6th, but this could get a lot worse. This could get a lot worse. There's going to be the rally coming up, which supposedly TikTok has been like stifling videos on this. I don't know, maybe. I plan on going. But October 18th is the big nationwide rally again for the No King stuff. So might want to check that out. I will be going. I think everybody should definitely pay attention to that. And I think that's a given. I think that's an absolute given, that rally. So absolutely go to that. But yeah, I'll be there. We'll all be there. Very important now. I mean, now more than ever. But I think tying up with people like that, Google it. Just Google it, Rach. You'll find information on it, whether your town is doing anything. I'm sure your town probably is, but depending where you live. Yeah, just Google it. You'll find the list of cities and where and everything. And then, and even better, you can even Google your town and, that name and see what comes up. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, yeah, look at that TikTok, YouTube. I'm a little uncomfortable talking about preparing for bad things happening. I do think of the NRA though. Somebody had tweeted the other day, a journalist. I don't know if I've got it here, but the joke, wasn't the Onion? Wasn't it the Onion that had something about the NRA? NRA is the gun lobby in America. They're the biggest pro-gun lobbying organization, right? And tend to be pretty evil. Their argument, let me find this. Let me find their argument. The NRA's big argument is, well, can I find this? Hold on. Let me find this. Quiet. Honest to God, Sasha. Where is this? Shoot, let me ask ChatGPT. Can you find me the National Rifle Association's argument where they talk about people needing guns to defend against a tyrannical government or something? That was always the NRA's big argument. Can you find me an actual quote from them? whoever's spamming, yeah, Helena, don't spam. I mean, I appreciate you putting this stuff up, but also I don't know what that means, so I worry about people talking money. Be careful with that. Notable quotes. Hold on. Here we go. One check. The right to bear arms is a check against government tyranny was a NRA quote. The Republicans would always quote this stuff. But there were other quotes, but basically their big argument was always, oh, people need these weapons, the citizenry, because then the public or the government will be afraid to go too far if they know all the citizens are armed. And this was always Republicans saying this, afraid of Democrats, like a Democratic government's going to go too far, but whatever. And a political reporter the other day tweeted the quote, and I don't know. The problem is it was a couple days ago. I probably can't find it on my phone easily, but he quoted it a couple days ago, and it was interesting because, you read that quote now, and as somebody who, I always want to be careful of these discussions because also TikTok, sensitive discussions, right? But I've gone target practice as a kid. I went hunting as a kid. I feel bad hunting now because I like animals, so I feel bad. But the target stuff with skeet was a lot of fun. Skeet. But I've also been very anti-gun because of how bad it's been in this country. We're not responsible enough. Having said that, I just think it's very interesting that the NRA for all this time, hi Arctic, I see your comment now. I think it's interesting that all this time they were arguing that if enough people go out and buy these things, a tyrannical government would think twice about doing illegal things. I just thought that was interesting. But unfortunately, we probably can't have a conversation about that. But it is it's interesting as somebody on typically the other side of the argument. It gave me pause. We'll put it that way. But yeah, I do worry about that, Chapachi. I worry about the ICE agents. I worry about the ICE agents, people not knowing who the hell they are. And now, so far, they're doing it in parts of the country that aren't as weapon-y, like Chicago. But you go to a place where people have more firearms, and some guy like that one guy, thank you, Dave, keep the gifts coming. I'm going to sign off in a second, guys. Last-minute gifts are appreciated. But you go like that last guy wearing his mask and his glasses and his T-shirt and no ID, grabbing some guy and trying to mug him, it looks like. You could have somebody intervene. I mean, this is what I also worry about, the Second Amendment people that have their huge things on their back and they go into shopping malls and coffee shops. And I'm sorry, but like